Welcome back. Today, let's go into one of the topics we haven't discussed before, which is about, you mentioned about your projects and you said that, you're now moving into products and, what you are currently doing. If you can, talk about that, that would be great.
Since I've never really done a podcast before, though I did make one long presentation to the IIT Kharagpur. We have a group of alumni which comprises the 69 batch.
Okay.
And so we have a number of maybe about 60 people who would have given presentations, and I happen to be one of them. Mine was the only one which was focused probably on this kind of topic, which is the variety of industry, activity, projects, and so on and so forth. Uh, but it was very interesting for me. So this is also in the same class, giving me the chance to talk about myself, which I should not do too much, but also to give tips for maybe people who will learn from my experience,
Exactly.
and that is something which I look forward to help younger people to or whoever to do things at least having taken lessons from me. So now in the products, so the background, the product portfolio is entirely comprised in a company called ISA Impex Private Limited. This company was started by my father about 40, around 40 and odd years back. Uh, and Actually, it was 1974, and I helped to set it up because at that time I already had 3 years of running a company, and I recommended to him to start a private limited company. And though I was just 30 something, I thought I had more experience than my father. My father had, of course, 50 years experience with the Indian Army, having led formations in Siliguri, and after that, director of weapons and equipment in the Army headquarters. I learned a lot from him after he passed away, I think, or during the time when he was running this company, and he ran this company very well, very successfully, and very moderately. His interest was to focus on technology. That means whatever commercial activity he did, it had to be to bring some new technology into India and not get into some normal rut. This was also limited by the fact that we didn't have too much of funds to pour into the into this enterprise. My father, we ran this company as a trading as a agency house, representing a number of companies from abroad in areas right from remote sensing to cryogenic cooling to thermoelectrics to weathering testing and so on. We had about 18 or 20 agencies, and we had to deal with all of them. And the thing about an agency is there's no, the added value is that you are going to the customer and providing the customer end support to the foreign entity. My interest was that as we go along, we should get into something which was connected with manufacturing.
Okay.
That was my father's interest, and that was my interest. And so it happened somewhere in the um, maybe around 2010 or 2015 that we took the step of uh, building up the inventory reserves for spare parts
Okay.
for all these machines. We built up spare parts, built up a service capability, sent our people for to understand about servicing abroad to the principal companies, invested in spares so that we wouldn't have to contact the principal company thereafter. The idea is that you build up your capability, and while you represent them in all respects honestly, etc., but you should not be someone who asks questions all the time. If you keep asking questions for 10 years, it means you have not really learnt
True.
that much that you should have learnt. So we didn't follow that path. What we did was, my father passed away in 2020, 2000, in the year 2000. So it's been 23 years that I have spent in converting this company into a manufacturing unit.
Okay.
So he ran it during his lifetime for about 20 years, uh, only in doing agency business. Then towards the latter part of his running, we started with spare parts, and from 2000 and from the year 2000 till today, we have done two things. Given up agencies that did not make sense, because agencies that you run that don't give you enough return are a waste of your management resources. So give them up. So within 4 or 5 years, when we had taken the decision to go into manufacturing, we basically gave up almost 50-60% of our agencies. We were left with just a few, and we moved into manufacturing of those machines where we were agents.
Okay.
When they threw us out, when we had differences of opinion with these uh, basically three major companies, we we decided to walk out of the agency in two cases, and in one case, the company was bought from the United States original owner. It moved to a Singapore owner, and then it moved into Chinese ownership. So anyway, we were not keen to provide the necessary support for these agencies now. And by the year 2010, we had no agencies and we had only manufacturing. So we could not manufacture a product by copying it. So we followed the agreements. We took 2 years, even if it was not provided in the agreement. For 2 years, we did not look into that business at all, except to get rid of our spare parts,
Okay.
whatever stock we had. We have to be ruthless not only with the business opponent, but also with ourselves. We should also be ruthless with ourselves, and if it is 2 years, it's 2 years or 2.5 years. So we started designing those machines that we wanted to manufacture. So we
Okay.
spent 2 to 3 years in design, then prototyping, and now we are in production in all the things that we do. And the things that we do are the following: ultraviolet accelerated weather testing machine. We are the only manufacturers in India of ASTM approved, not ASTM conforming weather testing. It's a test equipment that would be accepted by any paint manufacturer of coatings, organic materials, paper, plastics, and so on. So we supply this machine to those who are in that bracket. There are a large number of companies. I can give you one or two examples. For example, you have woven sacks which are used for bulk transportation. These have to be tested under this provision because there are safety issues involved. Almost all the paint manufacturers of the large size, that's the top 25, they use ultraviolet test equipment to test the life of the or to measure the life of the equipment. It's done by deduction and by relative comparison with what do you call it, the actual performance in the market. That of course is done by the company because they have to hold up their own whatever they have committed to the public. And so this is one range of this is one equipment that we make. Our equipment tests exposes the samples to ultraviolet included in the weather pattern, and there are standards that we conform to. And we also carry out the same test in our own lab, which we have in Bangalore. We do both bulk testing as well as individual testing or comparative testing. And we have one part of our factory is dedicated to this part of it. Of course, we supply the spare parts for all the machines. We repair and do maintenance for all the machines, including those machines that we repaired for many years for our foreign principals. And it's a friendly competition. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. We are keeping on aiming for improvements in our system. Uh, this is uh, this is not a quick product. It takes time to sell, takes time to make, and also it is a product that that we can be proud of as a country, because test equipment from us has been accepted by companies that are also, some of them are foreign companies also working in India. For example, a company like Fosrock, which is a British company, they were one of the first to encourage us in supplying them this machine. They were pretty satisfied that the company is still running these machines, and we are involved in other projects with Fosrock. Um, we have supplied to CIPET, Central Institute of Plastic Engineering and Tools. It is very interesting that out of 5 tenders, we have got 4 of them already,
So,
and so business is on.
so
It's
what
very
kind of,
interesting.
yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Hmm?
What kind of margins do you have in this business, in the manufacturing?
See, we have to be competitive, so we have to be low cost or low priced.
Okay,
And I would guess that our gross margins are in the region of about 40, roughly 40%, 30 to 40%.
okay,
And we ensure that we run a frugal setup. We have individual attention to each and every single machine. And a lot of this learning has come from the training that I've had in Ashok Leyland and Escorts, and also from the various projects that we have set up for people. And I've had to relearn and relearn and relearn things until we have a good understanding of the whole production process, whether it's for pharma or engineering or testing or how a machine operates and so on. This is the kind of thing you need to be very clear about when, even if an alumnus wants to do something like a test house or consulting,
okay.
you have to be very thorough with your engineering, your mathematics, and understanding of chemistry at least. This will help, and remain a learning organization, or go for something bulk production, make tennis balls or do something like that, because there your volume and margins are somewhat clearer.
True.
But in the business that I've got taken the path, it is every project is individual. In every project we need to look at how that operates and how it works. um,
So how do you hire normally? Do you hire from IITs or top engineering colleges, or what is your hiring strategy?
no, hiring strategy, we you will be surprised to know that we do not take IITians as employees. We did. I've so far employed about one, two, three, four, five, maybe 6 IITians. We've also had, in the sense that they came for training or they were sent by Kharagpur, and I said yes. But when I got an MTech student who had finished 1 year and did not understand what he studied in his own first year, I felt it was time to say goodbye to such people. And as we went into manufacturing, we found less and less need for IITians. It's very important for people to understand that when an IITian takes up production, he has to bring his mental state down to the production level, which is that of a worker or a supervisor, for the production part, for the production and sale part. So there you need to behave differently. Now, when you want to do some research or some product development or something connected with adjunct manufacturing, then you become the IITian. But you're not necessarily using the knowledge that you picked up in IIT.
True.
It is the knowledge that you picked up in IIT plus the maturity that you gained in the successive years. IITians must not think that, this is my view, IITians must not think that their IIT label is going to help them in the business or in the market. It will help a little bit in the market, because when you have developed something and you've got a new process, you've made something new, when you go to a customer and it turns out that you are from IIT and you did this, you filed patents on it and all that, it helps very much, because that IIT label puts a stamp, which may have nothing to do with what you studied in IIT, but it puts a stamp that here is someone who's been able to develop things on his own, and you normally don't see this in the industry. So the IIT support or the IIT name support comes in an indirect manner, something like this. It comes this way,
Yeah.
you know. So it's very important for people should not be overconfident with their IIT label. I've seen this a number of times, and if I've known the person well enough, I've always advised not to not to really sit on that, but build on that. The IIT label, the IIT experience, and the IIT culture is something that is going to put certain characteristics in your engineering experience, and that is what that must be part of you.
So one
I
question.
have used mostly unqualified people who have work experience.
Okay.
And in order to give you an example, I have I have a carpenter who makes my prototypes, and I have that same carpenter has been trained in mechanical processes like welding, gas welding, and so on and so forth, and assembly. He is one of the members of my cryogenics team. Most
Okay.
unlikely, but that is how it is. I have a senior guy in the cryogenics team who's the most highly paid guy in my company, and this guy has only studied up to the I think school certificate, but he has had practical experience in the surrounding technologies to cryogenics, which is air conditioning, gas cooling, water cooling, and so on and so forth. And he's a major part of my development team also.
So
I have a
that
BCom guy who sells our refrigerant gas. He needs to know he needs to know how the gas works, and he needs to know what is the effect that it will have and how well it performs.
true.
So you will see that I don't have anyone who is from the concerned industry. Part of this is because I don't want my processes to be spread in the industry by training a HVAC person or somebody else.
Got it.
You're going to ask something.
So, one of the, so you're busting this myth that, educational qualification or certificate are more important. Rather, you are saying that it is, having the relevant experience is more important than that.
Yes.
The second thing is, so in general, and this is from the entrepreneur, that what kind of, qualities you look for in a new hire? What are the
When
top
you
three?
hire someone,
Yeah, when you hired someone.
if you're an organization that is so let's divide the business into two parts. Not my business, but any business. One type of business is one that develops products, looks for new improvements, looks to conform to standards, and looks for technical improvements and so on and so forth in the product. And within this, there may be an entrepreneur who develops new products. The other, one is that you're looking at technically focused products rather than large volume or something like that. But the processes are, let us say, you are mostly responsible for having brought those processes into play.
Okay.
The other is where you make something run of the mill, you have the funds, you're managing it well. So you now go in to manufacture that product by looking for the equipment, suitable equipment for that. So your technical development towards setting up the plant would then become a more important part. So whoever the partners are setting up this plant, but they may not require highfalutin employees to work. You look for employees who work hard, and you look for employees who will stick to the chosen norms and not try to play games with the process or the product. So if you, for example, want to make, let us say, a vacuum flask. Now, this is not something where you have to develop something very special. You you play with the shape and the size and do experiments with the time temperature graph of the shape that you are interested in, and then you go ahead to look for guys who can supply you these parts and have a team that puts this thing together until you reach the stage of automation. So here you don't need very highly qualified people. You may prefer to take people from, for example, uh, people from Jadavpur University or Bengal Engineering, such people rather than someone from IIT.
So,
If they decide to go for IIT, then I can say, please look into Nehru Hall, guys. They are more entrepreneurs. But that is a bit, you could say, biased. Uh, you need the disruption that you get, the disruption part of your stay in the institution, the extent to which you work in the labs, the extent to which you are attending the workshops and so on. This would be a bigger plus for you in your subsequent career, in your entrepreneurship career, rather than how many marks you got for heat and power, or that may not be absolutely necessary. And so you look for people who are very disruptive in their capability to do work. At the same time, have a streak of loyalty. Loyalty to the organization becomes the most important thing. To give you a self example, I have about 15 employees, out of which about 10 or 12 have been with me for more than 10 years. And about five of them have been, or six of them have been for about 20 years. And of course, there are shades in between. And most people are pretty surprised by the extent to which that people are very loyal to this enterprise. So that is one of the major pluses for any organization, and that should be taken into account.
so what do you, as an entrepreneur, do to ensure the loyalty of your people?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I'm saying, what do you, as an entrepreneur, do to ensure the loyalty of your people?
I think for the main thing that you may have to do is to be a worker yourself. Which one of the things which is important is that the entrepreneur should have a role in his own company at least for the first 10 years. You have a role. So you may take a management role. You may while taking a management role, you may be in the forefront in marketing or sales. You may prepare some documents yourself. Focus on things which you may require the brain power of somebody who is not in your workforce. So the workforce person is focusing on doing his assembly, machining, the process. Your workers are doing the process. And in some cases, you may actually do the process. For example, in the field of color matching, you may decide that you have to do color matching for at least 50% of the clients. That is, you take the color swatch, you reverse analyze it, then try to create a color mix which will suitably replace that. That is what is done in color matching. I mean, are you conforming to the color shade given in the product or given by your buyer, so that you are actually fulfilling the requirement of the buyer? And if you have to tweak an existing color, you can do that. But so someone must be doing that. This is a cerebral job, even though it's automated a fair amount, and it also involves use of the spectrophotometer, and then you can finally get the color values that you want. So this process you may not give to some worker or someone, but for this you could employ some youngster from IIT, and that would be a possibility. So there are shades of jobs where you would actually look for the IITian. Otherwise, you can also manage this by one of the existing employees. So in my case, the color matching job is done in my factory by people who knew nothing about color matching 5 years ago, but they have been trained. And two of them were sent for training to Sweden to understand the process, understand the theory behind it, and we have spread it within our organization. Now we don't use it for color matching, but we have adapted it to look at a surface and find out the extent of degradation, relative degradation. So we have actually found a new use for this, and this is now standard in all our tests.
So one of the, the hot questions that almost every business is worried about is the advent of
Hmm.
artificial intelligence and
Yes.
how it affects their business. So with tools like ChatGPT. Now it can also analyze the images, and there are a plethora of other tools in the deep learning category with different algorithms like CNN
Right.
and the transformers. How do you perceive or envision, it affecting or disrupting your line of business, your manufacturing business?
In my line of business, I believe that I don't yet have a perception of artificial intelligence interfering in what we are doing, because you will see from the process itself. But if you look at many of the clients whom I have had over the last 40 years, many of them would have got affected by the onward onslaught of artificial intelligence. And I believe this will increase wherever there's a bulk business or there's a moderate amount of thinking or analysis. These will all be replaced by ChatGPT, or at least whatever similar thing of ChatGPT. Now, one of the things is in my setup, I have not gone for automation of connected processes. For example, if you have let us say we are doing color analysis, we do not connect each module of the process to be connected with the next module of the process. So that means when you do color analysis, we take the result and then we put it into something else when we want to calculate the composition of a paint. We don't use, there's a break in our process.
Okay.
So when there's a break in the process, artificial intelligence doesn't enter. These are individual processes. We can do this because this is not a volume business. But if you, let us say, are a manufacturer of paints, then you may have connected all the automated processes.
Right.
In which case, once you introduce artificial intelligence, it's going to run through the whole process. So someone like Berger Paints or Asian Paints may be very affected by artificial intelligence, and probably in that case also, the automation and the effect of artificial intelligence may affect them more in the accounting, marketing, sales, in that area. In our case, if you're small, what happens is that you're doing it yourself. Each of the people involved has got individual Excel files or whatever it is in which you do your job. Okay. But a lot of it is personal contact. So we do a lot of personal contact. We don't subscribe to any bulk program. For example, uh, okay, I'm not able to remember the type of programs, but so we don't get involved with all these databases. People who keep contacting us and saying, we can give you names of people and companies and what they produce, etc. I
Something like
feel
Just
these are
Dial or
all
Trade India.
so it's much better to. I think if you're small, you can presume that you are not going to be affected by artificial intelligence at this stage.
So
But
are
the
you,
moment you become very large, you are going to get affected.
so two questions. One is, are you currently using any customer relationship management software, CRM software?
We don't. Our customer relationship management is, let us say, personal. We don't use a bulk emailing databases and so on. We get offers every day. It's too common. So we give personal attention to every customer. We hope that this is the right choice. In any case, that is the choice we made. So we have to swallow whatever we get out of this.
So color matching, the second question. Do you
Huh?
think the color matching that you mentioned before,
Yes,
do you
yes,
think that can be done by artificial intelligence?
yes. Of course, it can be done. But currently, the recent AI tool that I have come across, like for example, ChatGPT 1 and 2, I think did not have visual. I think
Right.
3 and 4 have visual
Right.
capabilities.
Four, I think. Four.
And then I do not know, when it says visual capabilities, the color part is associated with the visual capabilities. That's what I heard from Altman when he spoke a few days ago.
Right.
So I don't know the extent to which the characteristics of for something like color matching can be properly taken into account.
You don't
It
need
will
chat
happen one
gpt.
day.
Yeah.
It is surely going to happen.
No, you don't need chat gpt. You can do color matching even today. You have to use the
Yes.
CNN models. I mean, you have to develop a model on
No, really,
convoluted
that's it.
neural network, and
That's it.
that will work very well for color matching. You don't need to wait for the later versions of ChatGPT.
The only thing is, in color matching, sometimes you look for 1200 shades of a
Yeah,
particular color and so on. So I'm not sure whether the scanning capabilities for color have reached that level or whether the AI tool uses that. But
it can.
a day is going to come when that will happen. It may be tomorrow, it may be next month, next year, but it is going to happen. That I am totally in agreement with you.
It was great talking with you. I think it was very educative. It was for me and with all the
So
viewers, And you seem to have a very strong connection with Kolkata. You were talking about Jadavpur University, Shibpur, and in addition to, of course, IIT, your alma mater. But
yes, 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 yes.
so even though you are in Bangalore, you seems to be equally tied with the ecosystem
Yes,
of
yes, that's true.
Kolkata.
But you see, when I studied in seven schools, and my eight schools, the seventh school was St. Francis, Lucknow, and from Lucknow I had 3 months left to complete my senior Cambridge, ISC actually, Indian School Certificate. So I did that in St. Xavier's, Kolkata. So I joined a class in which many famous IITians came out of. People like Arvind Jain or Shubhrato Sengupta, who was Dean of Engineering in Detroit. So I am still in touch with this bunch. We have a group that's called Section 9 batch of IIT Kharagpur.
Okay.
And of course, at the same time, I also had, since I'd studied in Kolkata, in St. Xavier's, and I was there after that for the IIT entrance exam classes which Xavier's introduced, where we used to mainly have a lot of fun and bunk the class from the back. We did all that, but it instilled a seed of sense in everybody's brain, and we enjoyed it immensely. And so I have a very strong connection with Kolkata. Plus, many of my friends are from Kolkata. So, when I go to Kolkata, I stay with a friend of mine. I've stayed with him for many years. Every time I've come to Kolkata. And while I was president of the IIT Kharagpur Alumni Foundation India, I was frequently in Kolkata on my way to Kharagpur or sometimes in Kolkata itself. And so naturally, I got to meet everyone whom I knew 50 years before that. So Kolkata has a special place for me, and even my classmate and partner Raghunandan, he is for him also. In fact, his memory of Bengali is much better than mine, and it is a life I wouldn't have looked for something else. I still have many friends in Kolkata, but only thing is not too much of a chance of traveling to Kolkata anymore, in my opinion, because of my being tied down by the medical thing to Bangalore. So I'm not likely to travel much, but I would like to travel anytime. So that's about Kolkata. And before I went for IIT, I was giving applications. So I filled up my application and I made a choice. I said, first choice is Kharagpur, second choice Kharagpur, third choice Kharagpur, or something like that.
You're
And
committed
my
to Kolkata.
yes, and then my choice of engineering also was mechanical engineering. I don't really recall whether I also included electronics in it, but my interest was in mechanical engineering. I had a deep interest in mechanical engineering, and so I also applied to Jadavpur at the same time. Since I'd been in Kolkata, I knew the reputations of these colleges and the way they ran, the culture, etc., and I was happy with it. So when the interview, I happened to be on the first day of interview, and I was the second person. The first person was second year new, R. Gopalakrishnan, who went into Hindustan Lever
Right.
and all that. So, who's Tata Sons director. So after he left, so I was actually the first guy from the first year batch.
Okay.
And so they said, you've got asthma, you've got health problems, and you should not consider Kolkata because in the winter it becomes very cold. I said, no, as far as I'm concerned, I'm fine. My health is fine. Your doctors made a wrong assessment. Those days, my language was not very diplomatic. I said, I can prove that this is just bronchitis because I knew it was bronchitis. And so they gave me for 7 days to go get treated in Kolkata in the army hospital, and then I came back and they could find no phlegm. They could find no trace of any residue in my lungs, and so they knew it is not asthma, because asthma doesn't disappear like that. Okay, so it was bronchitis and got a certificate. So they had kept for me a seat from the very first day, because they asked me, "What would you? Where would you go? What would you do if we refuse and we allocate Chennai to you?" Those days it was called Madras.
Right.
So I said, I'm very clear. I'll take a seat in Jadavpur or in Shibpur. So I said, this is my choice. Why? I said, they have very good mechanical engineering culture, department, teaching, very, very strong. I'm ultimately interested in the subject and the practicality. But if you give me Kharagpur, anytime I'd go to Kharagpur. So it's up to you. So then they found this hybrid system, and well, now you see me, and I've been there now for associated with Kharagpur now for 55 years. So it's interesting.
Thank you so much for your time. It was great talking with you.